Thanks for making the journey. I really appreciate
worries.
it. Yeah, we were just talking about it just then about like hitting strangers up to come and jump on the podcast, and it's like it's a big deal.
Yeah, we've never met before. We do have like friends in common though on Facebook.
Yeah, and actually a bunch of people had reached out to me or had spoken to me and recommended that I chat to you.
Ah, cool.
Yeah, and then I think you might have commented on something. I was like, oh, that name keeps coming up.
Yeah.
Hey, how are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then when I saw your posts about your time as a judge and your submission post, I was like, oh, this is awesome. How are you? Good?
Yeah, good. Yeah, just chilling, enjoying my tea.
Yep. So, that's how we know each other.
Yeah.
Before you came over, I'll start here because it's something that's right in the front of my mind is I just watched your short run.
Oh, Yep,
and now you're turning that into a feature.
I am, yeah.
Tell me about that.
It's pretty scary. It's a lot of work. So I'm making a micro-budget feature film called Run. It's a female-driven thriller, and I'm sort of doing it by myself. So I'm trying to get some grants together, and I'm trying to sort of get some money together to make it. I was going to make it in April of this year, but then the coronavirus happened, so it's pushed it back a bit. So hopefully I'll make it at the end of this year, but yeah, I'm just sort of casting still and trying to raise money.
So you've got the finished script that's all ready to go.
I do. So I've been shortlisted for a grant with Screencraft. So
I get their emails.
The script.
Yeah,
so I had to put my script in for that, and that's always, it's always validating and awesome when you get shortlisted. So hopefully I'll get
100%.
it because it's between 10 and 30 grand. So that would be an amazing help.
Yeah, that's game-changing money. That's like, I can start to pay people, which means more people are getting interested, a higher caliber. The grind isn't as hard.
Yeah.
So much nicer when you can start speaking to people and say, there's a little something in there. I'm not just give me your time for nothing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm halfway there. I threw myself into pre-production before COVID happened, so I've cast half of the cast, and there's 2 roles that I haven't cast yet. Now I just need to put a little bit of money together. So I've got the DP, Jay Grant, who shot Sequence in a Blue Room. It's a little indie film that went to Sydney Film Festival last year, and it got ACTA nominated. And he's such a beautiful cinematographer. So I'm sort of half there.
Right. And so cool. You've got a bit of momentum. And plus you already have a great pre-existing audience for that short film too, right?
Yeah, it's funny because it's very loosely based on Run. Like the short film was about 3 men kidnapping a female, and I shot that like in 2012 or something, and it cost me like $500 to make, and it just so it sort of is based off that, but very loosely. So it's got a few views on YouTube, so that's always good.
Yeah. And can you tell us much about sort of what's the log line or the synopsis about?
Oh, putting me on the spot.
You don't have to give me the elevator pitch, but yeah.
It is a gritty survival thriller following one woman's relentless fight to save her kidnapped brother. So basically, a guy gets kidnapped by 3 female criminals, and his sister tries to save him, and that's pretty much the film. So,
right. And Australian audience, Australian dialect all here.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a silent film. So there is no dialogue.
Like the short.
Yeah, yes, and that's the challenge, like to make a 70-minute film interesting with no
huge challenge.
Yeah, but I really want to do it, and I think
you should.
Effort, fuck it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Because now's the time to try stuff like that, and I'm going to go for big festivals like Sundance and South by, and just fingers crossed, we'll see what happens.
So can I ask from an actor's perspective, how do you cast that in the audition room?
No, well, it's hard because I'm doing it by myself, so I don't have a casting director. So I have been reaching out. There's one character called Lisa who's between 40 and 50, and I've been going for the big guns. So I've been cold emailing and stuff, and I've got 2 well-known actresses interested, so I'm hoping that one of them comes through. But with the other cast, I cast Sarah Hallam. I know that you know her.
Yeah,
she's great. I've known her since
awesome.
I was 18. She's amazing. So she's in it, and then she put me on to Izzy Ford, who I cast from Sarah's recommendation, and I gave Izzy a test, and she was great. So I've just sort of cobbled it together, basically.
When did you cast Sarah?
I cast. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it was the end of last year. She was the first one I cast.
Okay.
She tested, which was great. But yeah, we've known each other for years.
Right,
and I'm
right.
really excited to work with her. I think she's great.
My first, I'm sure you saw she was on the
Yeah, I did
podcast
see
and
that.
she was talking about
I
these
missed that bit.
projects that she's got coming up, and my first audition ever here in town was with her.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What did you audition for?
We auditioned for, it was a music video for, the song was written by Taylor Swift and the guy of Snow Patrol.
Okay.
Lead singer of Snow Patrol, and they were doing it as a charity thing for domestic violence. Okay. So we had to be a couple, this very strange improv violent.
Was it Sarah acting or was she casting?
No, she was acting.
Okay.
Yeah, it was for an Australian production house.
Did you get it?
No, neither of us got it. And it was like the first audition she had done when she was coming back into acting.
Yeah.
But she didn't piece me together until she got here. And she was like,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No, she's great. She does teaching and casting and acting. And yeah, she's awesome.
So, I mean, these people that you've approached, I think more what I was trying to ask is are you going to audition anyone for this, or is it all just going to be people that you...
I have auditioned. So I haven't just given anyone a role. Even with Sarah, I asked her to test and she very graciously tested. I have to make sure that the person is right.
Totally.
I can't just give it to someone. So I'm testing people, but I'm not, because I don't have a casting director. I don't have a big pool of actors who I'm casting. I'm only casting like maybe 5 or 10 people. And for the Lisa role, I'm looking for an older, more experienced actress. And so actually she's the only person that I'm not testing, because I'm going for 2 well-known big gun actresses. But I'm testing everyone else.
And how do you do that with no dialogue?
Just self-test. I mean, it's hard to explain. There is a little bit of dialogue in the film, and so in the finished film there'll be subtitles.
Right.
So I'm giving them like those scenes, but I'm also giving them scenes where there's no dialogue, because I need to see what they can do with no. Because it's actually, as an actor, it's so hard to do a scene with no dialogue. It's not easy. So yeah, I'm seeing if they're right for it. So yeah,
I think that's why, you get that classic situation where you go and watch something like Castaway or The Revenant or whatever, and all the film crew are like, oh man, that was amazing. Like, they just know how hard that is to do. And everyone else is like,
yeah,
God, there's no talking. I mean, fuck. And you're like, I know, right? It's amazing. and they just don't get it. It's so hard to do.
It's really hard to do.
Yeah. You're like, well, but what? And that's really, how do you, because that's another interesting thing too, right? When you're writing it, it's all action mostly, right?
A lot of the script is right now it's 70 pages and 90% is description, but there is a little bit of dialogue in there. Like the characters do talk to each other. I have to. So yeah. But I mean, that's the challenge, right? And I'm really excited just to see if it's going to work. And I won't know if it's going to work until I do it, so I really do. I'm keen to make it this year.
Well, I think there's a testament to what you're doing in that, like you said, with Screencraft, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that people are actually, who are going to potentially give you money to go and make this are like, this is pretty interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe it stood out in a way because who's making silent films? Nobody. No one. I don't know. So, yeah, I'm really excited that I got shortlisted and fingers crossed.
Oh, man. Well, I keep me posted because that's really, really great. And is that sort of, what's the contingency for that, and what's the sort of final piece before you pull the trigger? Is it literally a COVID, like you're good to go and shoot type situation? Or
I was before COVID happened, and now I'm sort of. I think everything happens for a reason, and there's a silver lining and everything. So I'm grateful for the extra time. With COVID, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm waiting. I have a rough month. Maybe we'll shoot in October, but I'm not 100% sure. I want to sort of make sure everyone's comfortable. There's a bit of touching in this. I want people to be comfortable with the whole, COVID thing. And so I'm not quite ready to shoot just yet. And I do need to scrape a bit of money together. I'm not like, this isn't a massive budget. It's a really tiny budget, but I still need to like pay my DP and stuff. And so I'm still looking for grants and all that sort of stuff.
I think that's something interesting that for the short term will come out of this whole thing is smaller little productions that like, how can we get something made? How can we keep it all happening? How can I turn this thing that was once going to be, you know, a $1 million project into a $20,000 project with two people, you know, like a Sunset Limited type situation? Like, how can we keep it going with molding around the current situation? I worked on a web series recently, which was, do you know Anthony Sharp?
No.
It's another one of the crew here in Melbourne. And he and I forget the name of the other fellow, I should know this, but they put together I'm calling it the wrong thing, but it's what I've always called it, like a tag your it type filmmaking project, where he made the first 4-minute episode, then nominated a filmmaker friend or actor to go and make the continuation.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and so on and so on and so on.
Yeah.
And, it sort of found its way over to LA and to New York and back down. And and I got to do an episode, and it was like, he rang me Friday night. This guy's pulled out. I need 6 minutes.
Yep.
Here's the story. I'll help you. Monday night we shot it. Like 8 hours of shooting in my shed.
Wow.
And then by the end of that week, it was out.
That's great. I
Yeah.
love that kind of stuff.
Right? Like you
It's awesome.
don't overthink
No, you
things
don't
anymore.
overthink it. You just do it. Yep.
And it's
That's
like,
great.
this is all we've got. So we'll cut around it.
Yeah,
Or
well, that's why I think too, I am chomping at the bit to make a feature film. I've been making short films for 8 years and I'm sick of it. I mean, I love short films. I shouldn't say that. But I'm ready for the next step and I don't want to wait 3 years to get funding. So I am willing to make a really low budget feature film and just hope, I would love to get into Sundance, obviously, or South by. Do you know the Duplass brothers?
Yes.
Mark, okay. So I'm obsessed with them, and so they're the sort of the frame of mind of just make it, just use what you've got, use who you've got, and just make what you can in that moment. So like I'm very much in that school of thinking.
He's incredible.
Oh my god, they both are. Yeah, I love them. They're so
We're
great.
both big Mindy Project fans. And then what was the one that he was? Did you watch Goliath with him in it?
No. Good.
He's the villain in it, and he is fucked up. Like, because he's like quirky and everything, but he's kind of lovable and what have you.
Have you seen Creep?
Creep?
He plays a killer, a creep in it.
Okay.
He's so good. You should put it on your list.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. I love accumulating new ones to watch because this is something that's definitely happened out of the COVID situation. Is it's fucking nothing. And all this stuff that's like getting released. You're like, I bet that wasn't going to get released. And now it is.
Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of, just quickly, because it's a film that, when you watch something and it's like, it's on you for weeks and weeks.
Oh, it
like
sticks with you?
Yeah, you just, fuck. Hostiles.
I haven't seen it.
It was a film that was made in 2016, was supposed to come out in 2017. And there was like I saw the first, that's the plumber. I saw the first clip of it. Christian Bale, Rosamund Pike.
I love him, yep.
Timothy, can't say his last name.
Chalamet?
And the guy from Empire Records, who's amazing now.
Ethan something?
Is it, he was the guy who went and lost all their money at the start of the
can't
casino.
remember.
He's in Black Mass. Actually, it's the same writer, director as Black Mass and Crazy Heart.
Oh, cool.
Anyways, this big frontier Confederate soldiers, Indians type film, and then just it vanished. And something I heard Erica was reading, they had no distributor.
Yep.
Or a distributor pulled out at the last minute. And everyone thought it was just going to be a big Oscar crusher and it just vanished. And then they tabled it. It didn't come out to iTunes till like 2 years after it was supposed to.
Yep.
Anyways, I finally got to watch it last night. And I want to say that it is almost perfect.
Wow.
Like it just, to me, like if I had to describe what I'd love to watch, fuck, it was so good. And
what genre is it? Is it like a thriller?
It's a drama.
Okay.
Like it's heavy.
Yeah.
But it's not.
So you like heavy dramas?
Love heavy dramas. Yeah. I had a comedian on here once and he was talking about how he loves to watch a reality TV to unwind. And I'm like, if I need to unwind, I've got to watch a heavy drama. Because then I'm like totally taken away.
Yeah,
and
I
then
love
I come
it.
bawling by the end of it. I'm like, wow, that was
As
amazing.
an actor, do you want to be in something like that?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I love that shit.
Yeah.
And that's when I'm sitting there watching it and I'm like calling the next beat and I'm like, that's what I would have done.
Yeah.
This is not saying that obviously I'm going to be this incredible filmmaker or anything like that. But that's what I would have loved to have done as an actor. That's so great. Sorry. We're going to have to pause this podcast.
Pause.
Keep things interesting. I won't give you the grotty details, but she's fixed.
Good. That's great.
Anyways, I was talking about Hostiles. I'll move on from Hostiles. But definitely put that on your list.
Great.
100%. What was my tangent to that?
I can't remember.
We were talking about getting your film made and then... Okay, let's move on from that anyways. And then if it comes back and I find it, we'll go there. Tell me about your time as a judge. Because listening to your video, it was so interesting because, I mean, you put your heart and soul into a short film or whatever, and you just don't know. And my small little audience have heard me talk about this a million times, but I played Ned Kelly in a feature film about 18 months ago.
Yeah.
And it was the only film that's ever been made where they showed it from the perspective of the cops and their families and as Ned Kelly as a murderous villain that he was and not this hero of the people.
Yeah.
And, of course that did the rounds and none of the majors picked it up. And you're like, wow, this is kind of important for Victorian history. It's a full-length feature.
Yeah.
It was... they had an incredible run in funding and press.
Yeah.
And nada.
So you went for big festivals but didn't get in, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they went for a slew of festivals. It ended up getting into the Lawn Film Festival, which is a small thing.
That's okay.
But it was great, and it was the biggest selling film they've ever had, which was kind of cool, and they had to go and rent a bigger cinema and sell. Like, that's all really cool.
Yeah.
But you would think that MIF or even St Kilda would have picked it up. And I thought that was just kind of strange because it's quite important.
That St Kilda's only short films. So if it was 60
So maybe
minutes,
it wasn't St Kilda, then it was... It's
like maybe Sydney or something.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. They went for Sydney.
But I mean, that's a hard thing, right? Like, so as a short filmmaker, I only go for Oscar qualifying film festivals, which means it's really competitive and you get rejected a lot. I've made a couple, but I've been rejected more than I've been accepted. And so like a year or two ago, I got asked from an Oscar qualifying film festival here in Australia to be part of the judging team, like judging selection. So it was really interesting to go behind the curtain and see how it is from like a judging point of view. And so then I did a YouTube video about it, and then that's what you saw. So that's what you're talking about. But yeah, so it was really interesting. And so I saw a short film that I absolutely loved, and I gave like really strong, good comments, and it didn't get in. And that's fine because it wasn't just me picking it. I was part of a big, selection committee. Yeah. But yeah, it's just interesting that, just because your short film doesn't get in, it doesn't mean that it's bad. It's unlucky. I think it's just, you just got to like throw your hat in the ring and try. And if you don't get in, just don't worry. Like, just keep making films and don't let it affect you. Yeah. But
do you, how is it broken down? I mean, how much can you talk about what you did?
Yeah, I won't say which one it is, but we only do have 4 Oscar qualifying film festivals in Australia. So Flickerfest Sydney, St Kilda and MIF, right? So it was one of them. But yeah, so basically I got about 30 films on Film Freeway, and so I had to watch all of them and then I had to rate them. So I had to rate them, on performance, production value, sound design. There was about 10 different things. I can't remember all of them. And then you write comments, and and then you send it on, and it goes to the director. So yeah, so as a selector, you don't have a say who gets picked, but you say what you like and all that, all that sort of stuff. And I tried to be fair. There were a couple of shorts that I didn't like, but I knew that they were made well and maybe someone else would enjoy it. So I'd put that in the comments. Like, this wasn't for me, but maybe someone else would enjoy it. And then there were others that were just really terrible. So it was interesting. It was interesting to go behind the curtain. Yeah.
Do you think, I've got 2 questions here. Do you think that will in any way influence how you would now make a film that you want to see go through those channels?
I wouldn't change what I want to make. I like to make things like all of my films are about personal things or personal elements, like even Run, like it's about gender equality basically, and I'm really for that, obviously. So I would never just change. I would never I think, okay, so this is a really good example. With Tropfest, I got into Tropfest in 2017 with a film called Dawe, a YouTuber, and I had tried 4 years before with different films, and I had tried to make like a Tropfest film, like a quirky comedy each time, and I got rejected each time because I was trying to make something that they would like, right? And then with Dawe, a YouTuber, I didn't. I just made something that I wanted to.
You got in.
I wanted. It was really raw and personal, and it's about online bullying and depression and all that sort of stuff, and it got in, like, you know. So I think that for me was a really good lesson. It's like you make what you want to make. You don't try and
100%.
make something for a festival. And yeah, so I would give advice to anyone who's making films to make what you want to make. You know?
Yeah. So just that knowledge will you probably, I guess, have an insight into what they hold consider very important as a part of the process. Like, where if no matter how good your film is, if you get docked a couple of points here on, say, sound.
Yeah, it's hard.
Happening.
It's hard, right? Because for me, I really believe that it's story and performance over what. Even with my short film Dawe, a YouTuber, it looked like shit. Like, I shot it on my phone. It really did. It looked horrible. But like the story and performance triumphed everything else, and it got into a really good festival. But then it's hard because, like, also not to be hypocritical, I also like my stuff to look. I do like my stuff to look good as well. And, you know, even when I was a judge for that festival, one of the things was like, what's the production value? Like, what would you rate that? Like, you know, sound design's really important. I just think it, you know, story, performance, like, obviously it's everything's important. But for me, I would focus on story and performance rather than it looking good. But it does matter as well.
I know, right? It's
hard, right? And then because if you're paying for it, it's really expensive.
Yeah.
It's so expensive to make a short film.
Expensive.
It's crazy. So where do you cut the corners, you know?
And
it's hard.
Generally the sound guy who gets cut off, or makeup department, you know? Yeah.
I would go makeup for sure. Like, I think that DP and sound's really important. But and acting. Like, if you don't get a good actor, then it's, you know, down the toilet.
No matter how good it is. Yeah. And so, in terms of, you were saying about the director of whichever festival, is that an individual, and do they get the finals?
I'm not sure. So I know that I was like part of a selection committee. I don't know who else was picked. I'm assuming it was alumni because I'm an alumni of the festival. So I honestly don't know if it maybe went to another group or if it just went to the director. All I know is that there was an amazing film in there that didn't get picked in the program, probably because the director didn't really like it or didn't resonate with him or her. So yeah, that's just unlucky.
Yeah, and festivals have a brand too, right? A little bit, like the sort of like I had a Robin. Now I remember his last name. Summons. Robin Summons was on here on Friday night, and he made a film called Ski Whiff, and it's about dementia and what have you. It's really, really close to home.
Yeah.
And he submitted it to Cannes, and he was just about to put it, like, he hadn't heard anything. He wasn't pretty bummed out, and he was like, I'm just going to stick it online. And they wrote to him personally and said, listen, we really, really love this. It doesn't quite make the cut, but we're recommending you to this other big French film festival. Yeah. And then Screen Australia paid for him to go to and do it. Yeah. And he was right on the line of making himself not be able to be there because I'm sure they would have had terms and conditions.
Yeah.
But that's just
incredible.
Don't hear that. Yeah.
That never happens. It must have been a really good film.
It's a great film.
Yeah. But how good for him. Like, he didn't get in, but, you know, he's got validation that it was good.
That's almost even better.
That's amazing.
Like, for them to take the time to write and go, that's incredible. Really like this.
He obviously almost got in.
Or, like, there must have been, like, between the guy, a girl, and and they were like, no.
Yeah.
God, that's tough. It would be so hard to choose.
Oh, for sure. And I feel like films are so subjective. What I love, you probably won't like, and vice versa, you know?
Isn't that the worst when, like, my very best friend, we're chalk and cheese, but we've known each other since we were kids. But I will be like certain he's going to like this film. And I'll be like, dude, I love it. So you're going to fucking love this. Yeah. He's like, man, I turn that shit off. Yeah. I was like, what? Like, it really is. You just can't. You know, my dad's the same. I'm like, you're going to love this, Dad. It's so good. The acting's great. Oh, nah. Didn't like the language.
Yeah. Everyone's got different tastes.
They do, right? Yeah. And so, and it's hard. You can't just put a straight sweep across it and say, or great acting, I'll watch any great acting.
Yeah.
You know, like, well, I can't anyways. I know people like Michael Caine says he watches anything and everything. I'm like, geez, man, that's time consuming.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think everyone's got their favorite genres. Like I like horrors, I like dark stuff,
right,
but I also
yeah.
like comedies as well. Like, you got to mix it up a bit.
Yeah, for sure. So we were talking before about building a channel and
Yeah.
like, how long have you been running your channel and what have
My
you
YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So I opened it like in 2012, but that was just to put my short films on it, and I wasn't trying to get subscribers. But from that, I gained about 3,000 subs, and then in December 2019, I made the decision to try and grow my channel. So I've been posting weekly since December 2019, and I'm really trying to grow it. I want to like build a community, and also like to be really transparent. You can make money from YouTube, but like you need a little bit more of a following. So yeah, so that's something that I'm concentrating in. And during COVID, I've been just making more videos and that sort of stuff. So yeah. It's not easy. But
It's not easy, hey. And there's that sort of, for me, it was like, how do I find that sweet spot of not being a YouTuber and still protecting the brand and what have you?
I don't think YouTube is a dirty word though.
No, not at all. Not at all. Like just not getting into that habit. Like I feel like every video I click on, especially videos made by guys. What's going on, man? It's like this, like it's a real presentation type thing. It's like there's some, I really gravitate towards the people that just find that it probably won't get them as many followers, but it's just different.
I know what you mean. It's hard. Like, so with me, I'm very much myself on there, but I will dial up my personality. You've watched one of my videos.
Yes,
I'm like,
100%.
like just like because you need to keep people's attention, but you also want to be authentic too. It's hard.
It is hard.
But so I'm trying to be me, but it's probably me on a really good day. So yeah, but I know what you mean. Like on YouTube, I really gravitate towards YouTube channels and videos that they're just sort of themselves.
They're themselves.
I don't like the Logan Pauls and the really big out there like douchey kind of. I hate that so much. But yeah, so I'm trying to grow my channel and we'll see how we go.
And speaking of what you were just saying, I'm not sure that I actually posted it, but one of the things that I probably find, well, the only thing about the podcast that I find kind of laborious is the intro.
Okay.
I've done the podcast and it's there in the bank and I'm ready to post it and publish it, and I'm like, okay, what do I say? Like, how do I be me but not bore the shit out of someone for 2 minutes while I intro this thing and not be good morning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think Mark Maron, do you ever listen to Mark?
I love him.
He's a great because
him,
he's just fucking.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, he's incredible. And so have you found, like, have you been able to monetize?
A little bit. Once you get 1,000 subs, I've got about 4,000 at the moment. You can monetize it, which means you can put ads on your video.
Right.
So I do make a tiny little bit from that. No, not a lot. And when you have a lot of subscribers and an engaged audience, you can get sponsors, but I'm not at that point just yet. So yeah, that's definitely a goal. Like, so something that I'm sort of focused on. So I'm doing weekly videos, and I'm going to do that until January 2021, and then I'm going to assess what my channel's doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you have you, as you've been working on other projects, and because so the reason that I started this, and we touched on this just before, and everyone's heard me talk about this a million times, so I'll say it very quickly, is to build an audience.
Yes.
So that one day when I have to pitch someone on a film that I've written or whatever, or a project I want to be part of, hey, look, I've got X amount of people that are sort of come with the deal.
Yeah.
Have you sort of found that factored into any of your conversations yet? Like, look, I've got this, and has it helped in any way? Or
with my YouTube channel?
Yeah.
No, not really. I feel like I'm really keeping them. I feel like in my head I'm keeping them separate because I've got a lot of goals as a writer director. Like, I want to make Sundance, I want to have a TV show, blah 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 blah. But YouTube for me it's not as serious. I am trying to grow it, but it's also fun. Like,
Yeah,
I
okay.
don't have to overthink stuff. It doesn't really matter about the production value. I can just sit in my room and do a video. And so for me, it frees me up creative wise in a way. But having said that, like I will mention, like I've mentioned Run a couple of times in some videos. I'm trying to kind of grow a community, and so that's obviously going to filter in naturally. But yeah, did that answer your question?
Yes,
I don't know.
yeah. And I think
don't
you're
know.
doing a good job because you're
you.
starting to come up in my videos.
Oh,
you'd
and
like
your
feed.
recommendations. Yes, YouTube. Algorithm, cracking it. It's so hard, man. I've got like 4,000 subs, but I only get like between 20 and 100 views. And so it's hard because you put 3 days into a video and then 20 people watch it and you're like it's hard. But I also know I'm not the only one, and yeah, I'm just going to stick to my goal, which is making 1 video a week until January 2021, and then I'll see what's happening.
I think that's how you have to do it. It's just
you
like
have
that
to just put a
grind.
blind spot on and just do it. Like, who cares if people watch it or not? You just have to make it, right?
Yeah, 100%. That's like when I was doing because when I thought of, okay, so I'm reading this book. It says, you need to build a bigger audience, blah, 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 blah. And they're going through this list of things that you could do. And it was like, write a book or do a web series or do this or do a podcast. And I was like, okay, podcast I can do. I've got a mic. I've got a preamp. What the fuck do I talk about? I don't want to review films,
Yeah.
And then I thought, okay, I'm going to talk to people who hustle.
Yeah.
Right? People who aren't just sitting waiting for their agent to call.
Yeah.
Or actors or writers who have had to diversify their skill set and learn how to edit or learn how to shoot.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, who the fuck is going to listen to that?
Filmmakers.
Yeah.
I love shit like that.
Yeah.
Can I swear on this? Sorry.
Yeah, I swear flat out. And then I thought, well, this is great too because I can just say whatever I want.
Yeah.
But it is a very niche little window,
Yes.
Yeah. And that's kind of great too.
Yeah.
Because then that was the next part of that article or research is build the niche thing, offer them something. It's not about what you can do for you so much as it is what you can do for the audience.
Yeah.
And then
I'm
just
still learning that. Yeah.
grind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like Joe Rogan says, you got to just do it constantly.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's really important. I'm guilty of this, but not to look at the views and all that sort of stuff. Don't worry if people aren't listening or watching.
It's brutal in the beginning.
It's brutal, but like, but I also see that my channel's growing. I look at the statistics and I'm growing every week. So I just focus on that. You're growing. Just keep going. It's fine. So yeah.
It's hard because you get such a buzz when you see like a new country is listening or whatever, like.
Yeah.
But then like Anchor, they'll only give you a estimate per week. So I remember sort of halfway through it said 49. I was like, oh my God, it was like 10 last week. And then the next week it was like 9. I was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, it's brutal. But I mean, acting and filmmaking is hard and a little bit brutal anyway. So, I mean, this is just a part of it.
Yeah. This is certainly a lot less damaging than getting tuned up in an acting class or or an audition where people just go,
yeah.
No, dude.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Did you even read the brief? My friends did this recently. They had an audition which I recommended that they go and do, and they put a lot of work into it, and they were so proud of it. And the guy just went, "Can we just get it the opposite of that?" Basically, is what he said, and they were like, "You know what, buddy? No, fuck you."
Was this in an audition?
No. It was a self-tape.
Okay.
And they really, really did fit the brief.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things where it's like they're just seeing people for the sake of it and don't give a shit about your time. And I get that. But, the amount of auditions, especially in the commercial space that I've been on, where you see the guy who gets the role and you're a million miles away from that guy.
Well, I've gone for a lot of ads that it says girl, like woman, like in the script, and then I look at the final product in it and they've cast a guy and it's like, it's such a knife. It's like, what?
That's a big one, yeah.
Huge. And that's happened to me about 3 times.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But I guess they're just seeing everyone, right?
You wonder what happens, hey? Like,
well, but maybe they sent like boy scripts and girl scripts, and then they just picked whoever they wanted.
Right.
I don't know, or maybe they auditioned all the girls. None of us were right, so they went, let's just get a guy. I'm not sure, but it's happened a couple of times.
I had a email thread that I'm sure I wasn't supposed to read, and they were like, Josh is our front runner, but he was really unprepared.
Oh,
And we're having to do
wow.
another round. So can you just make sure that everyone is more prepared? I ended up getting the
That's
part.
great.
And I think it's total bullshit. And I'm since kind of, I wouldn't say friends, but I'll go and have a beer with this guy and we get along. And I just wondered if he wasn't putting everyone on the back foot because they were trying to get a cheap car commercial made, but I thought, I wonder if I'm supposed to be reading this, man, because I prepared really, really hard for this and you did a 180 in the room.
Yeah.
And then it was something completely different and it was
Yeah.
improv and it was such a bizarre commercial.
But you booked it, so it's the main
Right.
thing.
So I'm like, what do you, and then I was scruffy and then they wanted to do this and I'm not prepared and well, obviously, maybe not so much. But so you're working on the podcast as on the channel.
Yep.
The film is obviously right in the view. You're waiting to hear back on a couple of things.
Yeah.
And what's your because you're an actress as well.
I am, yeah. I
Is that
am.
where it started?
Yeah, I mean that's how I met Sarah. Sarah got my first gig, my first audition for Blue Heelers. Do you remember that show?
Yeah.
Back in 2005. But I started out as an actress, but I'm just more in love with filmmaking, and it's so much more creatively fulfilling. So I do see myself as a filmmaker more than an actor.
Okay.
But I put myself in my own stuff. I still go for auditions and stuff here and there. But yeah, I think I want to be a successful writer director. That's my main goal.
Right. If someone sort of said you can choose this or this, you're headed down the filmmaker path.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to choose, but I'm more infatuated with filmmaking right now. Even with Run, I could put myself in it, but I'm just deciding not to because I want to focus on directing. So yeah,
That's
see.
awesome. Yeah.
I haven't closed off acting. I'm just not as focused on it.
Yeah. So, so when this film, once you get that up and running, are you sort of percolating any other, because you were talking about TV?
I mean, I go for we talked about this in the kitchen. I go for a lot of grants and stuff. So I've got a comedy TV show idea. It's called Loser in Her 30s. That I've got a treatment and stuff. So I'm going for grants. I mean, my dream would be to write and direct, my own TV show. So yeah, I mean, I've got to focus on Run because it's a lot of work.
Yeah,
but I've got a lot of concepts. I'm that person who just has. I've got a lot going on. I think if you have a lot of fingers in pies, something's going to come out of it rather than just focusing on one thing. I don't really agree with that. For me, I think that having a couple of things is better.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah.
I think I agree with you because sometimes if you're, it is what you say is there isn't sort of an argument that people will present, just fucking laser focus on that one thing.
I don't agree with that.
Put it. No, I think because that's what this in this current climate, you've got to be across a couple of things.
Yeah.
You have
what
to
if
be.
that one thing falls? What if you spend 10 years on that one thing and it doesn't come up? You don't make it. What a waste of 10 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think we are more capable of diversification and spreading ourselves out than once upon a time we gave ourselves credit for, because necessity is pushing it that way now. And you need to have, like you just said, you need to have that, not a backup, but you need to be able to push a couple of things forward like that. And then when that one goes, then they can stop and you can pile all your focus onto that. I guess the problem that might lie for some people is they don't have practiced focus on one thing. They've got I can be incredibly ADD where I just cannot fucking zero in. And when I was trying to write my film about 18 months ago, and I'm trying to write for the first time. So it's like this huge, as you know, undertaking to learn and then try and I'm not writing about stuff that I know. I'm going against. I'm writing about anti-poaching in Africa and all this kind of stuff. And I thought, how can I be productive with my kind of ADD mindset? And that was to try and but I've got all these other creative things that I want to do, right? I'm trying to work on my clip reel and I'm trying to work on the film and I'm trying to work on post-production for this other thing. And so I thought maybe if I put everything into 45-minute blocks, then I can refresh in between each and give all of them a high level of focus instead of it's a bit mean, you might be one of these people who can sit down and just like write for 5 or 6 hours. Nope. Are you?
Everyone's different. Well, for me, I'm in love with writing.
Okay.
I love writing
okay.
so much. It's not work for me.
That's
Unless
awesome.
I'm writing the second act of a feature film, and it's very hard. But yeah, for me, it's an expression. And sorry, that sounds so douchey. But I really love writing. So yeah, I feel like that kind of comes the easiest for me out of all of them. So yeah, we're different. I can't really relate.
No. I can't. Like when you
It's
get a
hard for
run,
you.
it's great. But yeah, I'm the kind of person who.
Although, you just started writing though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it takes time. I've been writing since I was 11.
Right.
It's in me. Like
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've got other skills that I wouldn't even know how to do, like at all. So I think it's great that you've started writing. Like, it's not easy.
It's not
It's not easy.
No, and it's not even. But I mean, no. Like I am definitely someone. Until filming starts, I'm kind of scattered. Like even in my prep for a role, I can only do little blocks.
Okay, that's all right.
And then I've got to fucking, unless it gets close to the line and I'm like, okay, I'm going to get the gear on and I'm going to go down to the shed and I'm going to block these scenes out in my mind and I'll be down there for hours doing that.
Yeah.
And then takes that moment before I can go, okay, cool, I'm in.
Yeah, there's no right or wrong way. You know what I mean? Like you got to do whatever's like, because I've got a little. I don't have ADHD, but I feel like I've got creative ADHD where like I need to be doing a lot of stuff in order to be motivated. And that's just how I'm wired. That doesn't mean it's the right way. Like, you know what I mean? Like I just think you just sort of you have to work out what works for you, and then you just do that.
And then you just go and do it. Yeah, for sure. I've always been so jealous of like like your Hemingway stories where people can just like slip away with 2 packs of cigarettes and a bottle of whiskey or whatever, and then a book comes
But you know
out.
what I'm jealous of? My friend Simone the other day said that she started writing a script and she was drinking like red wine while she was doing it, and I'm like, I wish I could do that. If I have like one sip while I'm trying to write, like there's no way I can write. Like I need to be happy with my tea and have a clear mind. Like I can't drink and write. But I kind of wish that I could.
Yeah,
because it sounds fun, right? It's romantic. It's like you have a bit of a wine. Write a
sounds like
script.
why you would do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
The very first film that I ever really worked on, and I had the lead role in it. It wasn't background extra or something like that. And our writer was like that. And you would get rewrites when maybe it had too many wines.
Yeah. Okay.
But he was a really, really smart guy. He was one of those guys who was kind of so intelligent that he needed to wrangle it a little bit to sort of make it make sense. It would just be like, whoosh, whoosh. But that was his thing. Like kids had gone to bed, wife's gone to bed. Pop.
Yeah.
And then
I don't know how people do that, but yeah, hats off to them. That's great.
Yeah. And I think if I don't want to let the cat out of the bag on that one, because I like would get right into it. I think like I would be there and
I guess it would loosen you up a bit, right?
Wine up there. And and then I'm fucked the next day and I've got to go to work.
Yeah.
There was one thing that because I mentioned to you that I was really, really chicken to become an actor years ago.
It's not chicken. It just would have been fear, right? Yeah. Like fear of failure or whatever.
No,
No?
It's fear of failure. It's fear of ridicule. It's fear of people laughing at you. It's all of that
tough.
shit, right?
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, geez, I'm quite bold when I'm drunk though. I was like, don't ever make that mistake of having a couple of beers before you go in for an audition to get over the fear, because if it works, you're fucked.
Yeah.
I'll be an alcoholic for sure.
Yeah.
And then it'll be bad. And I'm not someone who can hide a couple of beers either. Start to get this sort of face.
Yeah.
Just can't. Some people just can be so functioning on it.
Yeah.
No. Well, mate, I reckon that's
Thank you.
I reckon I really appreciate it. Yeah. I'm really keen to hear how it goes with that grant and
Thank you.
Run, and that's awesome. And
good luck with your stuff too, with your script.
Yeah, well, so hopefully he's reading it this week, and we'll make moves from there. But I was very fortunate to have Anthony Sharp, who I mentioned you before, put together a proper pitch deck.
Yeah.
Which was great, and all the imagery and
I love a good pitch deck. I just like looking at them.
Game changer, right? Like all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is kind of a real thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brings it to life.
It does. Actually, I did. You might have seen on my Facebook. I took like a character shot in my shed. And in the original shot, you're looking through the window. I'm there with like this, fake gun, and it's all military and shit. And then there's Layla's, clothes hanging on the line through the window and all this kind of stuff, which I pulled out and got a Adobe stock image of a helicopter with a burning car and stuff. It's crazy what you can do, though.
Oh yeah, so good.
And that's the power that we have now. I think with all of the tech. We're shooting a like a quick little vignette of sort of fantasy Lord of the Rings type thing on Friday in my friend's warehouse.
Yeah, nice.
Now he's been able to buy a green screen.
Yeah.
He's got enough computer power to edit it.
Cool.
A bunch of it's just going to go in there and do it. We've got a script. We're borrowing some swords.
That's fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And we can turn this thing into an under the city cavern type thing with lanterns and shit.
Yeah.
All just three of us.
Yeah, you can do a lot of
stuff.
It's great.
Thanks very much.
Dan, no worries. See you later.